Welcome to Main Street Minds with your host, Amish Munchi. This is where industry leaders and seasoned pros share their secrets to success beyond limits. Let's dive in.
Hello and welcome to Main Street Minds. Today I'm very excited. I have a very special guest, Kari, over here with us, and from beautiful sunny Riverside, California. It's just amazing the amount of growth we are seeing in that region, and I think Kari is probably responsible for a lot of it as well. So
I
without
wish.
any further delay, let me open up the floor. Kari, tell us all your secrets.
Thank you so much, Amit, and I appreciate the opportunity to share, all of the available resources that we have here locally. I probably want to start by giving respect to or acknowledge, I should say, Habitat for Humanity Inland Valley, which is an organization that I've been a part of years before I became part of the staff. And so, what's unique about Habitat, at least Inland Valley, I can speak for, because Habitat has several affiliates throughout the country and also worldwide. But at Inland Valley, we've developed a homeownership program that not only provides homeownership opportunities. So we're building, we're renovating, we're acquiring properties and making them available to low-income first-time home buyers. But we're also doing special financing. And one of the reasons why it works so well is because when you have folks that are in the lower income bracket, being able to save is, probably the biggest obstacle of home ownership. And so, in addition to the resources that are out there, Habitat's able to infuse a little bit of their own funds, whether the funds are coming from the county, whether they're private funds, to make home ownership that much more affordable. But what we have found is that, at least, for the folks who have come to us, a majority of them are not ready for home ownership, not just because the income is limited, but you've also got credit challenges, you've got debt challenges. And, obviously, we want our homeowners to be successful once they're in the home. So we want to make sure that they understand, the responsibilities of home ownership and how important it is to budget. So
Yeah.
Habitat partners with all sorts of um, community leaders, also community partners like Chase. We also work with the different cities, different counties, and we're just excited, at this point, to be able to say that we've touched, if not, it's hard to say the numbers since I don't have them in front of me, but attendance has been in the thousands, for as many classes as we've done in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, that is amazing. And how are you reaching out? Like, how do you reach out to people and say, hey, this is something pretty cool. Come and learn more about it.
Right. Well, so Habitat already has, obviously, is well known. It's one of the
Mhm.
largest
Yeah.
nonprofit organizations worldwide. And so there's already that factor. But, we've also had quite a bit of growth. The department that I oversee used to be managed by volunteers. And
Mhm.
so, part of the board and volunteers. And so bringing it in-house, it was like just creating a whole new department. But we've had seen such growth in the last few years, and we've added more staff to help support that marketing. But it really has been a lot of, traffic to our website, traffic to our events, whether it's, in partnership with our, for example, Chase Bank, who does our financial wellness classes,
Mhm.
or it could just be organic and them just happening to find out that we've had it traffic where they just are on our street and see our sign and, hey, I've heard about Habitat. What are you doing in this? So we have a real estate and education center in the city of Temecula that was we were able to create and start with the assistance of the city.
Cool. That is amazing. So
Yeah.
how did you get interested in this? Like what motivated you to get started with this?
Well, so I actually I have a long history in real estate. So I've had my license for 20 years. And then I had during I want to say 2008, with the housing crisis is when
Yeah.
I went into the housing authority
Hmm.
and I started in the Section 8 department. And then that's when the neighborhood stabilization program came about. And so I assisted the county in acquiring, rehabbing, and reselling those homes to first time home buyers. And that's when I really learned a lot about affordable housing. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I spent about 11 years at the county, but that's also where I was introduced to Habitat. Habitat is a recipient of county funds. And
Mm-hmm.
so working with them on the other, on the county side, I learned a little bit about how they operate, what their mission is. And then I eventually left the county and I was serving as a board member at Habitat Inland Valley. And then I want to say sometime early COVID period, when there was this opportunity is when I was offered an opportunity to the Family Services and Education Programs
Mm-hmm.
Department.
Nice. Yeah. And so you've been doing this for about what, another 10 years now?
Oh no, Habitat, I've probably been with Habitat as staff for about 5 years, but prior
Okay.
to that, I was probably on the board for 1 or 2 years, but
Okay.
working with them at the county for another couple years. So probably,
Yeah.
like you're right, probably in total about 10 years.
Yeah, that's that. Thank you for helping people get into the house. It's just amazing. I cannot even imagine like if somebody bought somebody trying to buy a house today would have bought a house 10 years ago, and like just the impact that they will have to their
Yes.
life, and somebody that's buying a house today when they look 10 years down from now when they look back and they're like, I was like worried, like I wasn't sure this is even going to work, and it actually worked out. So it's just amazing.
Yeah, and it's funny, like we don't even we get the opportunity to see that happen because, like I said, we have first
Yeah.
right of refusal. We're trying to keep our homes affordable. So instead of necessarily having to go through the process of either building or acquiring a new property, we're able to access the existing. So if a Habitat family needs to got a better job, in another
Mhm.
state and they need to sell, we have an opportunity to keep that home affordable, but we also see, how this house has changed that family's life, that individual
Yeah.
or family's life. And not just in the sense of, you know, any equity they might have earned, but also just to see like where the family has gone. I mean, we've got families that whose children have graduated, they're getting their master's degree. And, we know that home ownership provides greater opportunity as far as education. It improves, their access to health care, and they're being part of the
Yeah.
community and being invested in their community, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like what, just curious, like let's say somebody is able to utilize this program and get a home. Do you still have like the first right of refusal for like for how long does that right of refusal stay?
Right. So our current contracts will have first right of refusal at any point that they decide to sell,
Okay.
and that doesn't always, I mean, just in the recent years, we've had an opportunity to purchase one and then we did not purchase another one because it
Mhm.
just didn't anymore match maybe what it would be considered, an entry level home or a first time home buyer home, right?
Yeah.
So, and then that family is just free to sell the home in the open market and, without any restrictions, as long as they meet the affordability, or the affordability period has ended. And that's going to be the case even for, like, for example, the counties and the cities. They typically will put in their language about having first right of refusal because it's already hard to compete out there,
Yeah.
what even more, if you are a nonprofit trying to purchase a home and keep it affordable. So
Yeah.
I think it just makes sense, but we don't always exercise that right.
Sure. And completely separate question on the region. Like, is this only in Riverside County, or is like, are you able to see the same program working across different places in California?
Yeah, so I mean, and let's putting Habitat aside because Habitat is, as I mentioned, worldwide, and obviously in just in Riverside County, there's at least 3 or 4 other affiliates, but we all operate different homeownership programs. We have the same mission of affordable housing, but resources are different, right? Cities have different funding sources, they have different restrictions on there. And so we'll operate slightly different programs from one read or one affiliate to the other. But
Mm-hmm.
what's great about down payment assistance programs is, the our federal government supports affordable housing, and that filters down to our cities. Yeah, I'm sorry, that filters down to our states, and then our counties and our cities. And so many times, when someone comes to us and they're asking about, homeownership programs, there's almost always a homeownership program available. And at the very
Yeah,
least, there's always CalHFA state programs, which I'm sure we don't even have to talk about it, but Dream for All is available. We've
yeah,
always had My Home and Zip programs through CalHFA. And that's all you sometimes need to just get your foot in the door, right? And get into that
yeah.
home.
Yeah, makes sense. So can you tell us a little bit more about like where like what are you doing right now, and like where do you see yourself in like a few years? Like what would make you happy?
Honestly, I've been talking about this probably for the last 5 years. Is retiring early, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I want to be in a position where maybe I'm not. I mean, I feel like I'm always going to work, and when you
Hmm.
love what you do, it's not really work,
Yeah.
right? And so being able to help individuals and families achieve a dream, like I would say,
Hmm.
almost. It's almost impossible to find someone who doesn't dream of owning a home someday. And so
Yeah.
be able to have a career, and a business, that does this day in, day out. I don't doubt that I will continue to do it, even in my retirement years. But what retirement will allow me to do is kind of pick and choose my favorite things to do, right? So, like, my favorite things are actually being out there in the community, sharing about these programs. It's also an opportunity for me to do more home buyer orientations wherever I may be in the world, because of technology now. It doesn't matter. I could be,
Yeah.
on the other side of the globe, but still be able to do a workshop here virtually. So, that is what I anticipate, my retirement to be like. But I can only achieve that if I have a team. And so that's
Yeah.
really kind of where my focus is now, is trying to build a team of real estate agents who are like-minded,
Mhm.
because being able to not just learn about down payment assistance programs, but really be dedicated and mission aligned to it. And I mean, we all have to make money, right? Or
Mhm.
people are in the real estate business to make money. But when you have that additional goal of helping others,
Mhm.
it makes the reward is
Yeah.
there already, right? And being
Yeah.
able to help others. And I'm trying to find other folks who are like-minded in that way. And it hasn't been hard, but I think it's just not being able to focus right now on that as much as I would like to, because there's just so much opportunity right now,
Mhm.
for homeowners, for low-income homeowners, that trying to stay on top of being able to develop these programs as they're coming in, as they're becoming available.
Yeah, and have you seen like how what's the frequency of change in these programs? Like do they just have specific amount of resources every year and then it gets renewed every year, or these are like just completely new programs? Like what's been the pattern for the last?
Yeah, yeah. So you're gonna find, like I always say, like, people, I tell people about down payment assistance program, and they're just amazed, like, what, you can get 20%, and they're just like, what? And it's forgivable. But it's been around, at least from the county. I would say that the county programs have been around since 1980s, yeah, since the
Yeah.
80s, right? And some of these programs, it still exists. It's the same. There's a federal program that's through the county. It's the Home Investment Partnership Program, and
Hmm.
they provide down 20%
Yeah.
down payment assistance to low income families. So it's the 80% area median income, and that has been around since the 80s. And so the county has served thousands of families through this program, and it continues to be funded through HUD. Right?
Hmm.
But then there's things like the Neighborhood Stabilization Program, which was enacted just to help that particular period when we had a lot of foreclosures, right? and,
Yeah.
and homes being abandoned. And that was the response to that. So
Hmm.
those programs are short. There was also some programs through COVID. I know the acronym. It's ARPA, but don't ask me what it stands for. But the funding source was
Yeah,
basically for
sure.
to help during the COVID period. And so there's going to be a mix of those. Just like CalHFA has had My Home and Zip for decades, I'm sure.
Mhm.
But they've just recently started doing a Dream for All. And before that, they had this thing called an equity builder loan, which provided 10% down payment assistance, and it was forgiven after 5 years. So you're
Wow.
going to find long term programs that will continue to be funded. And then you're going to have programs that are maybe not necessarily long term, but they're there to address current issues.
Okay, so yeah, so basically, based on the situation, what's happening, like there is always some help available if it's extreme.
Right, right. And what's great, and I mean, I can't speak for all the counties, but here in Riverside County, what's great about Riverside County's programs is that they actually work with other programs. Meaning, normally
Mhm.
these programs
Yeah,
all want to be in second position, right? So
yeah,
a home buyer has to choose which program is going to be best for me. Well, the county has made it simpler because in their guidelines they will subordinate to a state program. So
yeah,
now with Dream for All, for example, and the county's 20%, it's possible for an eligible home buyer to have 40% down payment assistance
yeah,
utilizing these two programs.
yeah, and it's the same. Are the criteria very similar, like 80% AMI, or is it?
Well, so depending on which county program, because all
Mhm.
of the programs that they have will subordinate, for example, to a state program, but they have the home program, which is an 80%, that's so low income. And then they have the PLHA, which is the Permanent Local Housing Allocation Program. And that one is a moderate income, 120% AMI.
Mhm.
So you just have to be careful when you're combining programs that you
Mhm.
have to follow the strictest.
Sure. Okay, makes sense. Yeah. And I would love to learn more about this. And how do people find more information?
Oh my gosh, you could, if you just search Habitat for Humanity Inland Valley, we're gonna pop
Okay.
up. And I think, and I know this actually because I am in so many events, not just for Habitat, but also for the county or I partner with CalHFA on down payment assistance workshops.
Mhm.
So that information will pop up, but you're welcome to contact me directly. If it's
Yeah.
okay, I'd love to share my cell phone
Sure.
number.
Yeah.
My number is 951 three
Mhm.
one three 6100, And you can, I mean, sad to say, I am never far from my cell phone. So you will always be able to reach me that way.
Cool, thanks. And just curious, like, are you also able to like help people like actually find a specific house and like even if it's like on the market or
Absolutely.
okay,
Absolutely. So for habitat programs, you're actually purchasing a habitat home, right? So
sure. Yeah.
that's the only, at least currently, that's the type of program Habitat Inland Valley offers. But for example, the county's program, CalHFA's programs, those allow you to purchase in the open market.
Okay.
Right. There are some restrictions, some restrictions are maximum price, purchase price limits. And then there's some also restrictions as far as the condition of the home,
Mhm.
but I mean, like I said, the county and the state has helped thousands of families. And so some people might see this and feel like it's not possible because, like, for example, the county forgives for the home program, they forgive the loan after 15 years. So you can get up to 100,000. And if you've been in the home for 15 years, you are not in default on your first loan, they will forgive that 100,000 or whatever the 20%
Yeah.
ends up being, up to 100,000 after 15 years. So it's another incentive, not just, to stay in your home, but long-term occupancy is good for neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's good for the person itself, right?
Yes,
Like
exactly.
the
And you
first
can
time I
imagine what the equity would look like,
yeah.
after 15 years.
Yeah, and it's just the ability and the stability that it brings to a person's life. Like the first time I bought my first house, and I was like, that's when there was a like that very same day, I was transformed. I was like, th- I felt like, okay, now I'm grounded. I know what is home. I can focus on things other than this, like surviving and like being saying, hey, where am I going to be next year? Does this good opportunity show up in Los Angeles or San Diego? Like the brain just stops wavering everywhere and says, okay, like this is my home. Like this is
Right.
me. Like this, the stability and the peace of mind that the
Right.
old house brings is just amazing.
Right. And I mean, if you think about it too, we're talking about, a basic need. Shelter is a basic need,
Yeah,
but it also becomes an investment, right? And yes,
yeah,
it might not be liquid, but really the opportunity to turn around and sell your home, especially here in California,
yeah,
it's very high. The possibility of you being able to get what you're asking for on your home is very high here in California because of the shortage of housing. And so, I mean, I'm assisting a client right now. She's a past client who I helped purchase her home 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago. And even with having to pay the county back because she hadn't gone the full 15
yeah,
years, her house has doubled.
yeah.
So she's walking away with a really nice investment, and that really opens up opportunities for her in this time in her life, to do other things that she wouldn't have had the opportunity to if she remained a renter.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah. That's really amazing. Cool. As we come close to the end of this episode, I always like to open up the floor and ask one last question, saying, please share anything else that you would like to share with the audience.
Oh, thank you. So, I mean, I do feel like this opportunity to be in this podcast has given me the chance to share what I'm really passionate about, which is helping first time home buyers achieve their dream of owning a home. I mean, I maybe would just recommend for folks that, who maybe feel like it's not possible. It is very possible, and it doesn't even matter where you are. As long as you're willing to do the work that's required, you can achieve home ownership. And part of why we want to help you is because we won't turn anyone away. The whole goal is to help you assess what your current situation is, teach you what home ownership requires,
Mhm.
and then give you and assist you with developing those goals so that in the future, whether it's 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, you'll be able to finally purchase that home.
Yeah, that's very, very valuable. So thanks for sharing that, and I really, really appreciate you coming on our show and like sharing this insight with us. I do this does go nationally, so I'm sure others are also motivated and they can partner with Habitat for Humanity in their
Yes,
local region and find more places where we can actually really make a very big, meaningful difference in people's life.
absolutely. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Great. And thanks for joining us on a busy Friday. Wishing you a very good weekend as well.
You too. Thank you so much,
Thanks.
Amish. Bye.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Main Street Minds. Want to share your journey with our audience? Head over to mainstreetmindspodcast.com/guest to apply.